Hi all, and welcome to the next episode of the Circuit Vlog. As you guys obviously will realize, this one is a little bit late to press. Things came up after Doc Masters and Maringen. I was actually reasonably sick for a week or so, and even after that I had a persistent cough and I just didn't really want to be talking and editing out a ton of coughing. I'm currently still sitting here in Magic Wood, Switzerland. Horrible day today, snow everywhere. So I guess that means it's a day for vlogging, right? So today what I want to discuss with you guys is some of the aspects of being self-employed and being on the road a lot. And it's an aspect we've kind of covered already when I discussed coronavirus, which is getting sick. Although this time, of course, I'm not talking about coronavirus. This is just day-to-day life on the road, dealing with jet lag, time zones, bad food, interesting accommodation at times. All these things that have an influence in staying healthy when you are traveling for a living. When you're self-employed, it's very different to working for a company. The main thing is it starts with you, it stops with you. If you're not available to work, the job just doesn't get done. So in the old days when I used to work in the corporate environment or some of my previous jobs, if I was feeling crook, if I was feeling under the weather, I'd call in, I'd say, hey, look, I can't make it today, things aren't going well, I've got a headache, I've got a cold, whatever it may be. When you're self-employed, that's not on the table. So you just have to deal with the illnesses and the sicknesses, the little niggles that happen in day-to-day life. And effectively, you've just got to suck it up. And so I'm going to tell you guys some stories about a few times where on the road I've had to suck it up and just deal with it. And first story I'm going to tell there is actually my first trip to India back a few years ago when they had the World Cup in Navi Mumbai. And I'd been in Japan for a couple of weeks after the Japan Bouldering World Cup and been bouldering with some good friends of mine, Elise and Eric Sefner from Canada. Then we flew to India. We flew across to Mumbai about a week out from the comp, settled into the hotel, did some sightseeing, and I loved India. It was amazing. It exceeded my expectations in so many ways. But of course, everyone tells you when you go to India, you're going to get sick. And, well, I expected it, and nothing happened, and nothing happened, and nothing happened. I was like, sweet, dodged a bullet. I'm staying in a good hotel with a good restaurant. There should be no dramas around getting sick now. And the night before the competition, I went to bed around 11:30 p.m. and I started to have this super trippy dream. So I'm dreaming that I'm in a theme park in Japan, which, okay, I've just been to Japan, that's no big surprise, but I'm dreaming I'm in a theme park about toilets, and there are all these super surreal, psychedelic, 30-foot high toilets. But I need a toilet, and I can't find one. And I'm having this dream, and I'm running around the theme park, and then I wake up and I realize why I was having the dream. And of course, the reason I was having the dream was I needed to go to the bathroom real quick. And that was it. That was at about 1 o'clock in the morning, so maybe an hour and a half after I'd gone to bed. I was in the bathroom, and I stayed in the bathroom all night. About 7 in the morning, I managed to get some meds off one of the team officials who was staying in the hotel. I sent them a message in the morning hoping they were up. They were. They gave me some anti-nausea meds. Emailed my boss at the IFSC, said, look, come down with food poisoning, gonna be there, gonna be shooting, but give me wide berth because don't know if it's, gonna go round or anything like that. And I waddled into the venue, really feeling worse for wear, and just told the officials at the venue, hey, look, I'm pretty crook, I'm gonna shoot, but leave me alone. And got into one of the photo pits. There was a photo position on either side of the stage, and effectively just stayed there, propped myself up against the wall and started shooting. And the organisers were great, because what a lot of people don't realise is every World Cup has medical staff, and the medical staff came up to me and said, hey, look, we hear you've got food poisoning, you've been vomiting all night. anything we can do for you? Can we get you some medication or anything? And I said, look, please, if you know anything, super appreciated. And they're like, okay, we're going to organize someone to go up to the pharmacy. About an hour later, they come up, they're like, okay, we got someone ready to go to pharmacy. Anyone else feeling crook? And one of the coaches had come up to me earlier and said, I think I'm next. I've just been to the toilet 3 times in the last half hour. And so I was like, yeah, I believe this coach is sick. And they said, oh, do you know where the coach is? And I looked around, and sure enough, there was the coach vomiting in a bucket about 20 feet from us. I was like, yeah, him. And they were like, okay. And so you just have to deal with it. If you're feeling dreadful, such is life. Whether you're the photographer, whether you're part of the streaming crew, whether you're Charlie doing the commentary, whoever you are, we all get sick and we all have to just deal with it. Another example, of course, the officials, the team support staff, the coaches, the athletes themselves. Everyone occasionally gets crook when we're on the road. And where possible, we all suck it up and deal with it. In the finals of that Navo Mumbai World Cup, Moni Retschy from Germany got food poisoning just before finals, feeling dreadful, got her best ever result in the World Cup. And I joke with her to this day that she got her best ever result because she was wanting to get off the stage as quickly as possible and run to the bathroom. So next time you watch a comp and you see people and they maybe look like they're just not doing so well, they may be looking a little bit low on energy, sometimes it's not just the jet lag, sometimes it's not just the strange food or the strange hotels with uncomfortable mattresses. Quite often, people are a little bit crook when they are at World Cups, and that's just part and parcel with what we have to deal with on the road. So how do we deal with getting sick on the road? Myself, I always carry a bunch of medication with me. I've learned over the years what to take, and my medical kit has expanded since the early days when I'd just get by with some ibuprofen on the bag. Now it's ibuprofen, it's paracetamol, it's anti-nausea, anti-diuretic, anything like that I will take because it definitely helps when you get crook. The team officials, especially the medical staff, of course, are always carrying that as well. They have to be a little bit more cautious because they need to be aware of the wider list and not giving their athletes anything which could impact their careers, to be perfectly honest. So everything they're carrying is obviously underwritten and fine by WADA. And at the end of the day, no matter how you're feeling, you just suck it up. If you're going to be shooting and it's going to be an 8-hour shoot or a 12-hour shoot, it's only 8 or 12 hours. If you feel dreadful, you take some medication, you drink lots of fluids, you sit down and rest whenever you get the chance in between, and you just do the job. There was an example in Tokyo last year at World Champs where my assistant at the time actually got a little bit crook as he came into Tokyo, and he slept through most of men's bouldering finals because he was wiped out. And I just turned around and said, well, that's not good enough. And he's like, well, I was feeling sick. What was I supposed to do? And the simple answer is suck it up. If you feel dreadful, take some legally prescribed or obtainable over-the-counter, of course, drugs. And if you're still feeling dreadful, run a really cold tap and stick your head under it, empty a bottle of water down your back, anything it takes to just bring you to life for that next 2, 3, 4 hours, because at the end of the day, we have a job to do, and when you're self-employed, the buck stops with you. So yeah, I just wanted to discuss that today, which is basically, how do we cope when it gets rough? And the simple answer to how do we cope when it gets rough is we suck it up and tough it out. Same as the officials, same as the athletes. Anyone that gets crook on the World Cups, where possible, is going to tough it out. And sometimes it gets too tough. There was a case a few years ago where one of the teams went training at a gym, and they came back from the gym and everyone got sick. And it appears that there was something in the air conditioning at that gym that just went around the whole group. That's my understanding from what I was told afterwards, that it was the air conditioning. And one of the athletes was really sick, ended up not being able to compete. So this was in China, wasn't able to compete in the 2 World Cups in China, was feeling a little bit better, flew across to Japan for the Japan World Cup that year, still unable to compete, feeling dreadful. They check him into hospital. It ends up that he's got pneumonia, and he's stuck in hospital for a couple of weeks after everyone else flies back to Europe, with one of his team medical staff just staying there to take care of him and, help with the language barrier and everything. And in those cases, yeah, that's pretty rough. Then obviously you're not going to compete. You're completely wiped out. But long answer short, got a job to do, got to do the job. And yeah, that's the bottom line. So that's what I wanted to discuss today, is just, if you see people looking frazzled, if you see people looking wiped out, there's a good chance the reason for that is because they are frazzled, they are wiped out, they have picked up a bug on an airline or in a hotel or just in a crowded venue where they've gone into a culture and their immune system isn't ready for the current bugs in that culture, and bam, you end up being really susceptible to little infections, little illnesses, and it's seldom that we come back from China without everyone coughing, just from the air quality, just from the fact that it's a different set of bugs over there, and people end up getting crook. Nothing against China, that's just the way it is. I'm sure it probably affects them the same when they come to Europe. And I know that everyone on occasion gets sick in all sorts of parts of the world, but I'll use China as an example because it's very common, especially with the heavy air pollution in a city like Chongqing, for everyone to be pretty green in the gills after having to spend a week there. Alrighty, that's about it for today. Got some really interesting topics to cover coming up. Obviously, I mentioned coronavirus at the top of the vlog, and coronavirus is going to impact this season. We're not quite sure how at this stage that impact will be seen. Obviously, we've already seen the postponement of the Asian World Cups in Chongqing and Wujiang. We've also seen the postponement-relocation, if possible, of the Asian Continental Champs, which were also scheduled for Chongqing. All of that is currently fluid due to coronavirus. That is going to impact our workload and how we approach this year a lot. It's also going to really impact the athletes and how they prepare for the season. So as things get clearer around that, it's definitely something I want to discuss. I'll outline with you guys what I've got coming up. In the short term, Studio Block is only a week and a half away. Quiff is the weekend after that. Super psyched for them, really excited to see everyone. And then there's a little bit of a break before Meiringen, and then potentially quite a big break because of course we've lost those Asian rounds. But the year is ramping up, things are getting exciting, and yeah, I'm excited to bring you guys some more content really soon. Thanks very much. If you enjoy this vlog, please make sure, comment down below any questions, anything like that. Make sure you subscribe, like, tell your friends, all those things. Thanks very much. See you next time.